let's let these folks in.
October, what is it today? The 14th?
October 14th already.
All right. What's up, guys?
Okay.
Welcome to the Q&A.
Hey, everybody.
Rhino, your name still says Jeff Pellizzaro.
I just want to be you so bad.
I know, right?
I am Ryan McMullen.
I feel like we just have to start every show with our Hayden Buckley update, pretty much.
Yeah, Hayden watch.
It's
funny. My brother Timmy, your cousin, he sent me a text today. He's like, I didn't realize how well your boy's been doing so far. When he, as the season is 3 weeks old. I'm like, dude, you've been missing it because it's been pretty freaking exciting to watch, man.
Yeah. I think it's kind of cool. Obviously, it's only three events into the season, but he's 10th on the FedEx Cup points. So they show him every single week when they're talking about that. But so for those that didn't follow last week, he made the cut on the number. So get this, I'm sitting at my daughter's volleyball game Friday night. Hayden, the cut line is he needed to be at 5 under. He was at 4 under and he had 3 holes to play. And I'm sitting at my daughter's volleyball game with the app on, talking to my mom, like, all right, here we go. We got 3 holes left. And he goes, birdie on 16. I'm like, sweet. All right, 5 under. Birdie on 17. All right.
Insurance,
so,
right.
Insurance. 6 under. Insurance. 18th tee. Hits the ball way right on 18. Has to take a drop off the cart path. Hits the ball over the green and has to chip up, ends up bogeying 18. So get on the number, gets in the tournament. And then on Sunday, he just went bananas and shot 8 under. He had the second lowest round of the day. Nobody was catching Sung Jae Im. He was 9 under, but I think he was 4 shots better than anybody else in the tournament. So, but they were talking about him on the broadcast. I was listening on the radio, PGA Tour radio, all day Sunday. And he was kind of the talk of it the whole time. It was kind of like, he's a little bit too late. He's making a huge run, but when these other guys come out, he's probably not going to have enough to secure first place. Nick Watney was 1 ahead of him anyway. But so he got a T8. So he's had a T4 and a T8 in the last 2 weeks. I think he's made $484,000 in 2 weeks. Not too shabby.
Yeah,
that's
a little bit less than you and I.
Yeah,
slightly.
Right, which is quite a bit more than he made the entire year last year on the Korn Ferry Tour. So he's put himself in a pretty good spot. I think, was it you that was telling me that he's already like at 167th place? Or no, that was one of my other clients was saying he's already like where the guy last year at 167 on the money list was. So, got to get to 125. What would be 125, which was close to $1 million last year. So he's on his way. That's
pretty great. Yeah, I like to geek out on it now that it's so great to follow a guy who's kind of doing this. And now on like WGC, he's ranked 160. So he's like legitimately one of the 160th best golfers on the planet. That's pretty wild.
So on Sunday, I sent our buddy Drew Stoltz from the Golf Subpar podcast. Great golf podcast. If you guys haven't listened to that one, sent him a note, and they have a deal with FanDuel, and so they always put out their bets on who they're going to vote for or who they're going to bet on the next week. And I'm like, hey, you might want to keep your eyes on our boy Hayden Buckley as a sleeper for your FanDuel. And so he actually then had Hayden on their radio show on PGA Tour Radio on, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. So I haven't had a chance to look it up. I don't have Sirius XM radio, but so it sounds like they had a good conversation. Hopefully one of these days they will bring him on the podcast where they do it in studio. Be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be all right. That is a great podcast to listen to. I also don't have Sirius radio.
Yeah.
I like to listen to the terrestrial radio when I'm in the car. I'm old school.
Yeah. I mentioned to Drew that I don't have, and he's like, you know, dude, I don't either. I give my subscription to my wife. So
he's not drinking his own Kool-Aid. What the heck?
Yeah, he doesn't want to listen to himself. He talks enough.
Oh, yes, he does. Nice.
That's funny.
So
Awesome.
kind of like, actually had a couple of questions about, this week was kind of a motivation thing and a focus thing with a lot of emails we got. So you talked to the guys from, was it Brain.fm yesterday?
Brain.fm. Yeah, just spoke with Steve from Brain.fm yesterday. If anybody that's on the call, if you've heard of Brain.fm, let us know. It's a really, really cool app that I used several years ago. I heard about it on another podcast, another fitness podcast that I listened to. And it is it's an app where it basically has like auditory tones. And so you use it for focus, for sleep, and meditation. And it's all based around neuroscience, and like they've done studies on it. They've done papers on these different tones that they don't just have, made by computer boards. They actually have composers that end up like composing this stuff, but based on the different trends of the tones. And it basically lights up like different parts of the brain based on what the tones are. So if you're looking to focus, which that's what I would normally use it for. If I was going over to like Starbucks and I knew I was going to be on the computer, I was going to be working or whatever, I would throw Brain.fm in rather than listen to radio. Ryan, you know how I don't like to have songs that I know playing, because it just jumbles up my brain if I hear a song that I know the words to or the beat. So this, you put it in and it's these auditory tones, and it's kind of music based, but it taps into like the different level of focus, different level of meditation. And so they reached out to us, knowing that we're in this golf and fitness space, and wanted to partner up regarding, bringing this to our audience. And we'll actually have a link to this in the next day or so. They just got back to me with some of the stuff that we need to get through. But I mean, for when you're out on the driving range, and a lot of guys will listen to podcasts or whatever, but if you put this in to help you with your focus, if you do any kind of meditation practice, which I've been doing a lot of meditation for the past probably close to 6 months. I've been trying to do at least 10 minutes a day in the morning. And so they've got guided meditation, non-guided meditation. And then they've also got for sleep, like to help you just kind of shut it all down, rest, relax, naps, all that stuff. So they were really excited to talk to us, and I'm really excited that they reached out. So they're going to give us a sweet deal on Brain.fm. I think they're going to give, it's a subscription service. It's an app on your phone. I think it's $7 a month. Our people will get 20% off. So it's pretty cool. And I think there's just like a 7-day free trial, so you can test it out first.
Nice. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the background is one of the guys who started, I don't know if it was the guy you spoke to, is an ADHD guy. And I always had a hard time focusing. And that's what really perked my ears as a ADHD guy, I can't even say it, person that,
Squirrel.
Right. And I still can't sleep, and I don't know if what's going on. So I'm very excited to try this thing out, to see what it does.
Yeah. I mean, well, we were just, talking about kids and stuff like that, like being able to introduce this to some of the kids. I can't wait for my wife to try it out too, because she is in the special school. She's a special school teacher and works with a lot of learning disabilities and ADHD and things like that. So I'm excited for her to get her hands on it too. But yeah, I mean, just to be able to offer, a somewhat of a product solution opportunity that isn't, a new drug or something like that. And I think that so many of us have so much going on. And I find myself with this, even just listening to podcasts and books and things like that. Like sometimes it's just so much information coming in that I'm like, I just need to kind of like shut things off. And that's where the meditative practices have been coming in, and having something like this where it really will help you kind of like focus in on what you're doing. When I was talking to Steve from Brain.fm, it's like, even in the gym, a lot of us will listen to music, or I know you watch, TV when you're in the gym, but for somebody that's really serious about making improvements, that mind muscle connection is a serious thing. And so sometimes we're just in there kind of going through our reps and going through our routines and not really focusing on what we're doing in the gym with the exercise. And so I'm curious to even try this for some of my workouts, just to see if it helps me kind of stay a little bit more focused on what I'm actually trying to do there. And will I miss my podcast? Maybe, but who knows? We'll see.
Right. And it's funny, like from a golf point of view, talking to Brian Shire, one of the guys that golfs with us every Friday morning, who's a very good golfer. He's like me. He's like, I get like mentally like bored after, for him, it's, 14, 15 holes. Like I give up a bunch of strokes around just because I do stupid stuff because I'm not focused on it. And I'm like, I do the same thing. If I hit one, where I don't like it, then I get, kind of aggravated. I don't focus on what I'm doing. Then I just drop one and hit another one in the woods. And I guarantee it's every 9 holes. It's a couple of strokes here and there. So that'd be a pretty big deal. I mean, we've tried to monetize it. What would guys pay to drop one stroke?
Oh yeah.
And I think we've heard, it kind of depends on the person, but anything from 10,000 up to, millions. Of course, millions, then you'd be on the tour. But that's why this golf industry is so gigantic. Everybody's trying to sell something to shrink their score. So.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for this stuff. The focus stuff, the breathing stuff. Like these are things that we can really kind of impact or utilize when we're on the golf course. There's not a whole lot of things that we do to practice golf or whatever, whether it be like a gadget or even like a swing aid or something like that. Like you can't utilize that on the golf course. You can't even like most of our exercises, it's not something that you would do like mid round that's going to help you, but like being able to focus your attention, being able to like control your breathing, being able to like bring yourself back from a bad shot or something like that. Probably the most effective things that you can do to be able to help you immediately when when the wheels are going off the rails in a round of golf. So we'll keep you guys posted on what's happening with this. Maybe we'll even send out an email with the details on just how to sign up, just kind of an introductory email or something like that that'll introduce people to it. But it's pretty cool. I have personally used it. I used it for a long time. I think I had a year-long subscription and used it almost every day when I would go and work up at go sit in Starbucks and work on some different things. So it'll be cool. And they're doing more studies, and so I think they're looking for us to maybe help with a couple of things on ways that we can be a little more creative with utilizing this stuff or seeing what works, what doesn't, and how it does impact golfers. So
nice. Oh, we're on the forefront of science once again.
Yeah.
I'm most excited about. Yeah, I'm most excited about the sleeping part, which has nothing to do with. Well, I guess it doesn't have anything to do with golf. If you wake up all tired, you're obviously not going to be sharp on the course. But I'm excited. I'm gonna talk to this guy personally, and what we get a free membership. Boom.
Yeah. Boom. Free stuff.
Excellent.
So this actually plays into something else that I wanted to talk about. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about ice baths and not icing for injuries and things like that. And I forget who it was, but somebody posed a question, what's the benefit for doing the ice baths and plunges and cryotherapy and those kinds of things. And I didn't really start reading this book because of that, but I found this book through another person I was listening to, the Wim Hof method. Have you ever heard of that guy, Ryan? His name is Wim Hof. He's from, I believe, the Netherlands, but they call him the Iceman. And basically he is kind of the original proponent of doing like cold plunges and things like that. Does a ton of deep breathing exercises. That's where I heard about him, was on the Ed Milet podcast. They were talking about the importance of oxygenating your blood with deep breathing exercises. And both Ed and his guest talked about how they utilize the Wim Hof method. So I started reading his book or listening to his book, and it's very interesting. It talks about just utilizing cold plunges and how he's been doing it for the last 25 years. He has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in nothing but shorts. I think it was Kilimanjaro. And he's taken other people that go through his seminars up to the crest of Mount Kilimanjaro and back down, like within 40 hours or something like that, wearing nothing but shorts and tennis shoes.
Oh my goodness.
All this crazy stuff. He talks about, so I suffer from like my hands and feet get really numb like when I get cold. And so he talked about that. And so the remedy is to basically plunge your hands into ice water for 2 minutes at a time, like every day. So I'm going to try this. I should probably document this little experiment, but to see if it helps out with this winter. Cause I know like Ryan and I play in a soccer game every January 1st, and it's typically cold as can be. And my toes go numb, my feet are freezing. So I'm going to try this, but the benefits of the cold plunge and really why he says that this works for like your hands and your feet and everything is basically your body, your heart is pumping your blood throughout your body, right? Pumping it to your extremities, but it's not just the heart that pumps it. There's also little muscles that actually end up like pushing it down through your vessels, through your capillaries, and then bringing you back through your veins. So he's saying that if you get cold, if you have cold fingers, cold toes, that those little muscles around those vessels just aren't working very well. They're not contracting very well. And so you need to basically strengthen them. And he says that one way to do that is by immersing them in the cold, because again, it kind of shunts the blood out and then it pushes the blood back in. It causes those muscles to strengthen up to be able to force that heat and blood and oxygen and everything back out to your extremities. So basically it's like training muscles, which I found very, very fascinating. But then he goes into a lot of science around how the cold also helps different chemical exchanges in your body, helps with your immunity and all these different things. So I recommend everybody look up Wim Hof and just do a little search and just kind of start reading about him and everything. I'm really excited to try a couple of these things. I've done cold showers and, I did cold or ice bath back in college, but that was more like after a long day of soccer, 3-day trainings or whatever. I've never really done it just kind of as a preventative measure, but I have done cold showers and I'm starting to do it again after reading this book. And it's just very fascinating to hear the benefits of cold therapy and doing that stuff. Then he has some very deep breathing meditation techniques, which I'm very fascinated by too. But again, the science behind kind of getting rid of all the carbon dioxide in your system and filling yourself with oxygen and what that does to your muscles and how it makes everything basically just work better and helps with your immune system. And he's done some crazy things that, sound like they're old wives' tales, but this guy, like they have documented proof of him, like in a block of ice for 2 hours. And he was able to keep his body temperature the same level, or he dropped it below like the threshold level and mentally brought it back up. It's crazy, but
yeah, I did. I was just, when you were talking, I Googled him just to see what he looked like. And I saw him, I think, like Laird Hamilton, that big wave surfer.
Yes.
Crazy guy. I think he introduced me to that guy, and it was wild just to see him. It looked like he was in one of those, big cylinders, just like this, and a big cylinder full of ice. Yeah, just, hey, how's it going, guys? And they had the thermometer on the entire time. It was wild.
Yeah. And side note, with his beard, he looks a lot like John Ashworth does right now.
Yeah.
They look very similar.
He does. That'd be great for the getting numb toes. Like now the soccer season started getting a little bit chillier. That'd be great to stand outside and not have, when you get in your car, be able to feel the pedals.
When I'm coaching, it's become bananas when I'm coaching these last couple of years. Like I got to bring like big gloves and, like I've been talking about getting those hand warmers to put in your pocket. And it's like, man, I shouldn't have to do that. So I'm excited to try this out. I'll keep you guys posted.
Well, I'm going to,
have anybody on the call, have you guys messed around with any of the cold showers or any, cryotherapy? I did a cryotherapy chamber a couple of years ago, which we did a podcast episode on. And that was really interesting. And that was only, you go in for a couple of minutes. I know guys that have bought deep freezers and they have them outside at their house, and they use that for their morning cold plunge, which that's going above and beyond. That's pretty serious. But who knows?
Yeah,
Don't put it past me to have a deep freezer out in the backyard one of these days.
Yeah, I'll do the thing with you, putting the feet and your hands in the cold bath just to see how that goes. That'd be great.
1 week, 2 minutes at a time. I think I'll review the text, but pretty sure that was it.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
So yeah, we've got a bunch of calls, a bunch of questions we need to get to here. So guys, if you're on the call, just in the chat, just type if you have any questions. So yeah, let's just get unless you had something more to add to that, Bodine or
No.
Jeff. Okay. So question number 1, my biggest struggle is time and focus. I love golf, but I love lifting heavy stuff too. Should I focus more on range of motion?
Well, that begs the question, is your range of motion bad or not?
Let's assume that it's not great.
Read the beginning of what he said. He loves.
So my biggest struggle is time and focus. So
Okay.
Focus, how about that? I love golf, but love lifting heavy stuff too, which that's obviously not a problem. So should I focus more on range of motion? I guess it's yeah, there's a little bit to unpack there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, obviously, if lifting heavy stuff is something that you love doing and is important, then you got to make sure that that's in your repertoire, right? Because that's why we do this stuff, because we want to do it, we enjoy it. I would say focus, especially on those lifts, focus on the range of motion of those lifts, making sure that you're doing them through good quality movement, with good postures, with good tempo, with great control. The fact that this guy or girl also loves golf means that, yeah, you're going to have to work on some of the things that are going to be needed for a golf swing too. You don't want to only be doing it. And when I think of lifting heavy stuff, I'm thinking probably likes to do heavy squats, deadlifts, maybe bench press, those kinds of things. Those are typically the heavy stuff things. So yeah, you're going to have to move in different directions. Those are very straight plane up and down motions, pushing straight forward. The deadlift is just front and back, squats are up and down. So there's nothing rotational, there's nothing lateral that would be beneficial for the golf swing. So that's where, I would have that person also throw in a few things where maybe they are on a cable and what they're doing, like some presses with a rotation, or single arm rows where they're getting a little rotation in the body, or even single arm anything without rotation, because that's going to create some of that anti-rotation strength, some core strength there. I'd probably get into doing some lateral work as far as maybe some lunges or things like that, with or without weight. So a lot of the stuff could end up just being body weight style movements, like we do in a lot of our move day programs, working on, how does your trunk rotation look? How does your shoulder look, doing the daily mobility stuff. But it sounds like time and focus is a difficulty. So I would say, you got to just kind of work on planning things out a little bit. And this again is where, the daily motion routine, or as we're starting to call it, the EFDs or the move EFDs or whatever we end up calling that. That's a big one, because it doesn't take a whole lot of time or focus. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. It benefits you to be very focused on the different movements. But I don't know, Ryan, what would you say? I know that, as far as time and focus, you've always got some different strategies that you utilize. You're a really regimented guy when it comes to your schedule, but it's by necessity, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how it started. When I figured out that so again, the ADHD thing, that my brain's all over the place, and the same thing with Murphy, my son, and now we're starting to get him into a routine, and that's what helps. But on the flip side, I guess it's a good thing. It's really hard to get me out of routine. It drives me crazy. Like it was raining yesterday morning, so I couldn't walk the dog, and it really kind of screwed up my day
Mhm.
because I walked a little bit later in the day. So I think just getting what help again, this is just me. What helps me is just getting into my exact routine, and then I'm totally laser focused. And you realize you do have a lot of time during the day. I know we all put a premium on I'm busy, because that makes you sound more important, whatever it is, and I'm just as guilty. But we all really do have a lot of time when you do the math. I mean, if you sleep for 8 hours, work for 8 hours, that gives you another 8 hours of stuff. So you can. And I read a thing. If Barack Obama can, well, this is back when he was president. If he can find 45 minutes a day to work out, we can all find 45 minutes a day to work out.
Yeah.
They're hopefully he's was one of the busiest people out there. So for me, it's just finding that routine and sticking with it, and really just doing what you enjoy. I enjoy lifting weights. If you enjoy jogging, go jog for a little bit. Just do something that you enjoy because then you'll stick with it. That's that's probably the easiest answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the whole, lifting heavy stuff portion. So I was in the gym today. Um, and I was actually, unfortunately, getting on the sprint treadmill just to do a little
Okay.
training for our race. But I was watching Dave, who is the owner of Empire Fitness Academy here, and he was lifting some pretty heavy stuff, doing some squats, doing some deadlifts. And I was I was thinking in my head, like, I just don't enjoy doing that stuff anymore. Like I know that it's a challenge for my body, and a lot of times it ends up causing aches and pains. And so like I don't do a lot of that heavy stuff anymore. I mean, I'll still use heavy dumbbells and do different things, but like to try to squat 225, 300 pounds, whatever, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. And so it's interesting that this listener brought this up because yeah, like your routine has to be something that you're going to follow through. Yeah, there's going to be times where you don't like it, just like me getting on a treadmill and running. I don't love doing that, but when I got done, I felt great because I just did 8 20-second sprints, and you just have to find what you enjoy, fit it in somehow, create. That's where the plans come into kind of having it labeled out, knowing like, okay, Monday through Sunday, like just look at it ahead of time, say on this day I'm doing this workout, this day I'm doing this workout, or whatever it is. That could be diet, that could be your workouts, that could be what you have to do for business stuff. But if you have it already on the schedule, it's that much easier to just know you have to do it and just get it done.
Yeah, for sure. And I think within the workout itself, a big problem that I have, and I think a lot of people do that I've spoken to, is they're so rigid with the workout. So, what we prescribe on, Golf Body Blueprint, are certain things. So let's do, 10, 12 reps, with 4 sets, whatever it is. And if you only have 30 minutes, it's okay to just do 30 minutes of it. It's your workout's not ruined because you missed that last set. And I feel like too many of us said it's the all or none.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed my workout today. So you know what? I'm gonna eat like crap today while I'm at it. Since I didn't get a chance to work out. And I still do that. And then not nearly as often as I used to, but it's I don't it's really hard to explain why your brain thinks like that and trying to get past that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not where something's better than nothing. It doesn't like nothing. It doesn't have to be perfect. If I could qualify that to people, we'll be godzillionaires if we
Yeah.
can fix that. I don't. You just have to kind of get over it. But if I can just smack you in the face, get over it. It's fine.
Yeah. Which I think is another reason why, we're kind of putting together this thing that we're going to do in January that we like to call the Forge, just to, kind of almost kind of build that mental strength around some of those things, to kind of keep those commitments to yourself and make sure that you don't just throw in the towel when something doesn't go right, or, your schedule doesn't work out the way that you want it to or whatever. So, cool.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. When you get in that habit, when you forget that, oh shoot, I forgot to read my 10 pages, and you remember at 1 a.m., you get out of bed, go read your 10 pages, and then go back to bed.
Mhm.
So coming soon. Yeah, very good. All right, so the next one is this sounds like it came from a therapist. It's like talking to you. What do I do for thoracic spine soreness and stiffness?
Yeah, so thoracic spine, for those that don't know, is basically the upper back. Um, and that is really kind of the main area of rotation for your spine. You know, we rotate as golfers, we rotate at our hips. So our hip joints rotate. Our lower back is really just more of a flexion and extension, so more of a forward and back bending motion. Our low back really isn't supposed to rotate. What happens is often our upper back, so our thoracic area, um, if it doesn't rotate well and even extend well, extension is kind of part of the rotation for the upper back. If it doesn't do that, then that can cause more compensations from the low back and cause low back problems. So it sounds like this person has some thoracic spine issues. We actually talked about some of this stuff. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Where so your thoracic spine. Think of your spine, the vertebrae. You know, they're going to move forward and backwards. So as I extend back, they go back. As I go forward, it goes forward. As I rotate, one rotates on top of the other. If it doesn't extend backwards very well, it's not going to be able to rotate very well. So that's one of the things that we really look at when we bring somebody in hands-on, is how well can you extend your upper back. I would say that possibly just the easiest and best thing that you could do, and we have this in the daily motion too, is just the cat and camels, where you're really rounding out the upper back and then extending the upper back, and just doing that on a regular basis every single day, multiple times a day. The more you can get your spine moving in all the directions that it's supposed to, the more you're just kind of building up the blood flow, the oxygen, the nutrients that need to get to those discs, as well as the muscles and everything around those. We did a little drill whenever it was, last week, 2 weeks ago, that I learned from Brian Bradley. And because upper back tightness is a huge thing. And a lot of it stems from us all kind of like sitting rounded shoulders, being on our phones, being on our computers or whatever. So those muscles back there get a little bit weak. Our rib cage, our shoulder blades all tend to kind of round forward a little bit. And so it becomes uncomfortable to stand up with tall posture. It's hard to maintain a good golf stance with good golf posture because those muscles aren't prepared. So one thing that I like to do is take the knuckles on your first finger and put them right by your temple, and then stand up nice and tall. And you're actually, with your feet, you actually want to, if I do this standing up, you want to take your toes and turn them in about 5 to 10 degrees. And then you're going to kind of squeeze your glutes, stand up nice and tall. So everything's kind of taut a little bit in the lower body and everything. You're going to take the knuckles right here, and you're just going to bring the elbows all the way together and then all the way back out. And I typically will have people do this 20 to 30 times, just at about that pace too. And you'll find that this is more difficult than you would expect. Some people can't get their elbows to touch in the front. But as you squeeze back, I want you to squeeze those muscles. And as you bring them forward, you're going to let those muscles kind of stretch. And just that alone is going to work on building up your posture, building up your strength. So I would start there as far as just working on those two things, the cat and camel. So flexing, if I'm sideways here, kind of flexing forward and then extending backwards to get that back and forth there, and then doing the little elbow touches. And then you can start working on even just like some of those reach backs that we do in the program, hand behind your head, reaching and rotating that way. But that's a huge area that is very, very stiff in most people. Right at the T6 level is one of the tightest. I remember from school, I don't know why this always stuck in my brain, but at T6, your like a sheath around your spinal canal and around your spinal cord, that's kind of where it's at its tightest. And so that tends to be kind of a knotted up area. So the more we can move and control that, the better off we'll be.
Nice. See, you learned some stuff in PT school.
A couple things.
So, yeah.
I know that it's still in there. Sometimes it just takes weird situations to bring some of these things out.
Like these live Q&As.
Yeah.
So this might be my favorite question that we've ever had. We should,
Of all time, huh?
it's a good one. This could be like one of those podcast questions that everybody asks you or you ask everybody else. So what golf build do you think is ideal? DJ, tall, strong and long. Brooks, athletic and strong. That rhymes. Bryson, muscle. Rory, quick and mobile. That's a doozy.
That is a good question. I don't think Rory's is.
Why is that?
So I think, not that there's anything wrong with Rory's build, but
clearly there's nothing wrong with.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, so let's say if we're building we're building the Dolph Lundgren of golfers, we're building the Ivan Drago,
like Weird Science.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with somebody more along the lines of a Koepka or DJ. Probably a mix of those two guys, because DJ does have the height. I think he's quite a bit taller than Koepka, so he's got a little bit more length to him. But I like that Koepka has some thickness to him as well. Now, it hasn't really played out to my theory so much because Koepka's had a couple injuries as of late. But typically, you'll find like some of the thicker guys, I just feel like they have a little bit more resilience with their body. I don't have any scientific proof on this, but you think of a very thin guy. First of all, he's going to need to try that much harder to generate a lot of power and speed in a swing. A guy like Koepka, you don't really see him. Yeah, he swings hard, but he's not going after it like a guy like Justin Thomas and it as pretty and balanced as Rory's swing is. You can tell that Rory's ripping at balls, right? So I would say probably somebody that's a little bit beefier and taller, or quite a bit beefier and taller than Rory. DeChambeau, I mean, he's, him and Koepka really probably aren't that different of a build. I mean, obviously DeChambeau got really, really thick for a while, but where he is now, I think is much more conducive to him playing well and maintaining that. So that's not a definitive answer whatsoever, but
yeah, you could really sit on the fence for all those dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I just think that a guy like Rory, we're going to start to see bigger, stronger guys coming in with this whole, distance is king kind of a thing. And I think that a guy like DJ, and again, a guy like DJ pounds the ball, but he's not swinging his max on hardly any swing that he has. He's just got that long, lean, athletic power. And I think that if he even had a little bit more meat to him, and had, he's got the athleticism, throw a little more meat on him in a good way, and he's just going to create even more speed and power.
Yeah, I think so too.
And be resilient to injuries too.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. I always think of like as far as injury prevention is like a Lee Westwood type build where that dude is just like a solid ball of muscle, and he's pushing 50, right? Is he like 48 years old now?
He's got to be close.
Yeah, and he's a guy you would not want to fight in the alley because he's got real man muscles.
Yeah, he looks like he's farmer strong kind of.
Yeah, like his forearms are gigantic, and that I think it has served him well for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Like look at some of these, and I know a couple guys that have played with like some major league pitchers. Like some of those guys have the right build. Like just big, strong dudes, very strong lower body. They're kind of like that mix of a DJ, but a little bit thicker, a little bit more meat on the legs, and they can just smash a ball. One of my buddies played with Adam Wainwright, and he said that Wainwright he was hitting like a 2-iron past everybody else's driver. And the one guy in the group was like the pro at the club, and Wainwright's just destroying these guys.
Yeah, he's kind of straight out of Central Casting as far as like professional or Major League Baseball pitcher. 6'6", lanky, super athletic.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard tales of him at Top Golf hitting it over the net. Like
I wouldn't doubt it.
Here in St. Louis, I'm like, no way. But they're like, the guy hits a freaking long ball.
Yeah, really long.
Yeah. So on Friday, these last mandatory golf Friday that you missed, there were a couple hockey players behind us. These dudes were crushing it. So there's nobody I knew, but they each had like Bauer t-shirts on,
mm-hmm.
and you could tell they had like the hockey ass and the hockey big thighs.
Yeah.
And every single time they were right behind us. So there's
something.
Yeah. I guarantee he would have known who those guys are. But that hockey build and obviously doing that rotation for their entire lives really feeds well into the golf game.
Yeah. I mean, there's countless golfers that are countless hockey players that have become really good golfers. Speaking of the Subpar podcast from earlier on, Clayton Keller who's from St. Louis. He's an NHL hockey player. I think he play in Arizona.
It sounds right.
For the Coyotes. He was on their podcast, but he used to train at our old gym, and nicest dude ever. But yeah, like all these guys, they just have that, or not all of them. Some of them have a very, very Neanderthal grips and things like that. But you can tell like they just generate so much power and a lot of them little bitty backswings too, but they just get so much into it. And it's just, that constant rotation. It's a lot of the footwork, really. I mean, think about those guys hitting shots on the ice and how balanced they have to be with their footwork to be able to rotate and generate that much power. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so let's give DJ his offseason should be playing hockey. He should be in the NHL, and then he would be unstoppable.
Yeah, there you go.
In his offseason.
Clayton Keller is a scratch golfer, by the way, and they said that he likely could be a pro golfer if he took the time to dedicate.
If he gave up on this NHL nonsense.
Yeah.
Here, I'll skip ahead and right into this perfect segue. So what should my focus be for the off season? Is it different?
Well, yeah, the off season is your time to make some gains on, building some more strength, putting some more time in the gym, working on a little bit more of your flexibility. We've had that question a lot this year when the season started, like, hey, how do I balance my workouts? And, for many people, if you're going to be out golfing, I wish I was out golfing 2-3 times a week, but we've had some people say that they're going to be doing that or more. Then you can back off your workouts a little bit. The goal in the off season is to kind of, let's look at it from a professional sports level. The goal of the off season is to build up your strength. For all those hockey players, it was to put on some weight, put on some mass, because they knew that during the season, they were going to be skating every night. They were going to lose a lot of their muscle mass over the course of the season. They were going to lose a lot of strength because they don't have a whole lot of time to get into the gym. Or that when they do go in the gym, they're not going to hit it nearly as hard because they're going to have a game that night or the next night. So the off season is really the time where you can say, hey, what's my main goal? What do I really want to work on? So if you're somebody that really wants to lose some weight, then, hey, let's do a program that's going to really focus on, your nutrition and getting the volume in that you need to lose fat. If you're somebody that, hey, I really want to get stronger, or I really want to build speed, or those kind of things, that's where you can look at the off season and kind of map out what that's going to look like. Can I get 3 workouts in a week? Can I get 4 workouts in a week? What am I going to do diet wise? What am I going to do endurance wise or cardio wise or whatever that might be? But typically you're going to have more time to dedicate to that in the off season because you're not going to be practicing your skills if, you're not going to be going to the driving range, you're not going to be going out and chipping and putting as much. You're not going to be going and playing for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or a couple times a week. So that's when you can focus on building up whatever you want to build up. For me personally, that's typically when I'll get more workouts in, 4 to 5 training days a week, work on building up some strength. Seems like I'm always trying to put on a little bit of meat, but a lot of that is diet too, and so it's not going to be one blanket thing for everybody. Like if Hayden Buckley, when he ends up having some time, around the holidays, they're only going to have like a month or so. I haven't totally looked at the schedule, but we plan on getting together, and it's really going to be like, okay, first of all, what hurts? Is there anything that's hurting? Because let's work on fixing that stuff. Let's work on a little bit of the rehab, or get around those injuries. Okay, then let's work on building some strength. It's not going to be enough time to really build it, like increase his muscle mass and gain a bunch of weight or anything like that. Not that that's necessarily his goal, but let's work on some strength. Let's work on that, but let's make sure that your body's moving well too. So we got to fit those pieces in as well. Now he's going to have a lot more time to dedicate to it in that short period of time than most of us will, because that is his job, and he's not going to be, he's down in Florida, so he'll have time to go play and practice and everything too, but he'll definitely be dedicating a lot to his physical body, making sure that he's prepared for when the season starts back up in January.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's more of that like specialized area of our training where like the generic thing, I guess, is more strength training. And then we start to kind of dial in more of the, hey, I need to, like for me, I need to lose some pounds. Now it's my turn to kind of go that direction.
Yeah. And if you don't have a real goal and you're like, well, I just want to do some general stuff, well, then maybe it's a case of you going from 2 of those total body workouts in a week to 3 or 4. You just have a little bit more time. You're going to get a little bit more benefit out of it because you have more time to dedicate to it. So even if you don't have like, oh, I want to get a lot stronger, or I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to, get down to this body fat percentage or whatever, or I want to gain 10 miles an hour on my swing speed. It could be like, no, I want to do some more stuff in the off season. Okay. Then let's go from 2 days to 3 days, or 3 days to 4 days, or whatever that is.
Gotcha. And you can putt. Go in your basement in your living room and putt. That'll shape some strokes. Good God.
No kidding. I just saw, so we got my dad one of those perfect practice putting mats, I think is what they're called. The Dustin Johnson one that has the little,
little ramp on
the little ramp. And then I was just watching one or watching the Golf Channel, and Cameron McCormick was on there with I think it's called Well Putt. And it's almost like it's a putting strip, but it's got like different things on it. Like, so you can kind of almost play different games, or you almost has like a shuffleboard feel to it. So you're like trying to lag it into certain areas. And then it looked like it had an app that you could like take a picture and it would like actually keep score. And it looked pretty fancy. So I have to look into that thing, but I like the idea of it because it wasn't just like putting into a hole or just putting down this straight line. It was like, it had different tasks on there that you kind of make a game out of, which, we've said time and time again on the podcast and had guests that are golf instructors that say like, you have to make a game out of these things to really work on your touch, work on your feel, work on your performance under some sort of pressure. Right. So that looked pretty cool. I think it's called the Well Putt mat.
Okay. I'll have to take a look. Yeah. It's the same thing we were just talking about with your workouts. Like I can't sit there and putt straight for a half an hour. That's dumb. I just won't do it.
It's like going and banging balls for a half hour without a real point to it.
Yeah. I know. I'm always like creating little games in my head. How many times is it going to take me to get to that flag or hit that drum, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it takes me way longer than I thought, but it's all right. All right. So we've got a couple more questions here. Okay. So is golf specific training more important than overall fitness? So, and it says thinking like super speed golf and things like cable wood chops versus normal squats, push-ups, etc.
Man, it's so tough because like the answer is always, it depends. I personally steer more towards the generalized fitness stuff first, and then utilize the other things as kind of accessory things. Now, cable chops, I consider that kind of a core strengthening exercise. So we always include some sort of core strengthening or anti-rotation or rotation drill in our training programs. So I think a hybrid of the two is very important. The super speed stuff, yes, if increasing your swing speed is a goal of yours, then yeah, find a way to bring that in there. Or for many golfers, I just say find a way to bring some sort of swings into your normal routine, whether that be just going out in the backyard and swinging a club 10, 20 times, a couple days a week. And I am a big fan of swinging them the opposite hand direction as well. So your non-dominant side, not necessarily for speed, but just for balance, for rotation, for acceleration, for deceleration. So, but if you want to swing faster, then you have to do something that's going to help you swing faster, right? So if that's one of your goals, you have to be able to build that in. Prioritization wise, we always say those big 5 things: the pushes, the pulls, the squats or lunges, and then like the hinges or hip extensions. Like those are the big 4. And then the 5th is bringing in some sort of rotation or core, those kind of strengthening exercises. As long as you're hitting those 5 things and do them in different directions, mix it up a little bit, or at least if you have a structured workout, make sure that you're doing those movements a little bit differently in different workouts. And that's why in our programs, we do that. We mix up. Every program we have is going to have some sort of push in it, right? That could be a 2-arm dumbbell press, or that could be you taking a cable and punching it across your body, and it looks a little bit more like a golf swing. To me, both of those are pressing motions. We just mix up and make some variability in it, because golf is a complete move of all kinds of different directions, and your body needs to handle all of those directions. So would I ever have somebody just do bench press, squat, deadlift? No, I wouldn't. I would throw in some sort of different angles, different weights, different, stabilization types of exercises, different balance, different foot positions, different hand positions. So mixing it all up is where that's where the magic is. It's having those basic fundamental movements, but then the golf side is not necessarily making it look like a golf swing, but creating these different forces and vectors from different angles and positions.
Gotcha. Right. And what we don't want to do is go down the road of trying to mimic the golf swing with resistance, correct?
Yeah. So there are definitely times when I have guys take a cable and rotate with it, right? But I'm not saying like, okay, now pretend that this is going to be your golf swing and you're going to, release your hands here. Like, no, this is a rotation motion. We're building strength. We're building an athletic rotation movement. So wipe the golf swing out of your head. Now, are there times when I'll put somebody in a position, in the pit here and get them into a certain spot in their backswing and make them feel it and hold it? Yeah, because I think that's beneficial too, but that's not the bulk of their training program. That's almost like a rehab style exercise where we're working on some motor pattern stuff. But to me, that's not your fitness program. To me, that's almost more like what you're doing with your golf pro. Like you're working on some of these different positions. When we have you in the gym, when you're training up for your fitness program, we're building and strengthening your athletic body so it can do anything that you need to be able to do in your golf swing. And then you can practice those skills. I mean, we're lucky enough here where we've got the pit where you can hit some balls and you can kind of practice some of those things. But that's definitely not, you can't mimic a golf swing with dumbbells or cables, or the forces just aren't the same. The closest thing you can do to mimicking a golf swing is the super speed sticks, the rip sticks, like all of those kind of things, because that's pretty much exactly like swinging a golf club. Otherwise, you're just really creating an unnatural motion that you're trying to pretend is like the motion of the golf swing.
Gotcha. Very good. Okay, so last question here, unless everybody on the live call is satisfied. Again, put it in the chat box if you have a question. So this one, put your physical therapist hat on for this. What treatments have you seen effective for soft tissue damage? In particular, loss of cartilage behind the kneecaps, preventing a comfortable knees flexed position at address.
Give me the last part about that. Right after the cartilage behind the kneecap.
Yeah. So again, the question is about. I'll just read the whole thing again. What treatments have you seen effective for soft tissue damage? In particular, loss of cartilage behind the kneecaps, preventing a comfortable knees flexed position at address.
So when I think of soft tissue, I do not think of cartilage behind the knees, first of all. So soft tissue, I would think of muscles and tendons. The softening of the cartilage behind the kneecaps is what we call chondromalacia patella. See, I bring some of this stuff back. But basically that's typically it's a softening of the cartilage on the backside of the kneecap. And a lot of times that happens because your kneecap is rubbing a little bit incorrectly on the femur. So if your femur is like this, you've got the two knuckles of the femur, your kneecap should kind of like glide up and down almost perfectly in between. What happens in many cases is that something is causing a force to pull that kneecap or the patella, typically laterally. So typically towards the outside of your leg. Some would say that it's possibly the IT band that then kind of has some fibers that run over to the kneecap and are kind of pulling it laterally. So every time the kneecap goes up and down, it's almost kind of like pulling off to the side a little bit. So some of the treatments that I would have used in the clinic, or what I just do here as more preventative measures, is really working on building up some of the quadricep muscles to help that kneecap glide a little bit better. Your quads are what basically pull it up and down. But also we see this problem in, well, not necessarily the cartilage issue, but we see some kneecap gliding issues, especially with like adolescent females and teenage females, because they end up kind of like letting their knees buckle in a little bit, and that can be hip strength issues. So I would definitely make sure that we're working on a lot of hip strength, glute strength. Some of the very simple things would be like putting a band around the knees and doing like the clamshells and things like that, or doing like the lateral steps, like walking side to side with a band around the knees. But then even building up into like split squats and those kind of things that are really going to target the quadricep muscles and those hip stabilization muscles, because that's going to help keep your legs, your lower limbs in correct alignment to help that kneecap glide a little bit more efficiently. Now, if the IT band is really tight, you can end up doing like some soft tissue work where you're doing some hands-on like deep tissue massage type stuff to help loosen up some of the muscle and tissue and IT band over there, so it's not pulling so tightly. But I would say the most important thing is getting those other areas stronger. So the quads, the hips, the glutes, those kinds of things.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So that is the last question for the day. The chat is all cleared out. So yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. We're 2 minutes early today.
Cool. I don't know what we're going to start with next week because Hayden's not playing, so we'll have to just make up something from the CJ Cup. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. We'll definitely have some more info on the Brain.fm stuff next week. I'll let you know how my hand dipping goes in the ice bath, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see us maybe even implementing just some of the breathing stuff into some of our programs eventually, just because it's kind of amazing how important the breathing stuff is, and not many people talk about it as far as just the control of everything. I mean, everything starts with our breath, right? So controlling it on the course, controlling it during exercise, those types of things. So it's one of the things that I'm kind of starting to geek out on a little bit. So beware.
Can't wait. Very good.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Adios.
Talk to you next week.